Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Devashri here. So we were discussing about spectroscopic techniques. So in the last part, I have covered up the very basic part of spectroscopic technique. So in this part, I will be discussing about UV visible spectroscopy. So if you like it, please hit the like button and do subscribe. If and please share to your friends. After all, sharing is caring, right? Okay, so let's move towards UV visible spectroscopy, right? Now, before discussing UV visible spectroscopy, let us do a short quick revision, right? What we have discussed in the last class. So if we have discussed about the very basics part of spectroscopic techniques. I have explained to you about the spectroscopy. Spectro means radiation, scopy means study. So basically in spectroscopic techniques, we study how electromagnetic radiations interact with the sample. And when the electromagnetic radiations interact with a sample, there are certain changes in both the sample and the light, right? And we measure those changes in order to determine the concentration or structure of samples. Fine. So the three basic changes which a sample undergoes are your absorption, emission, then ionization, then scattering. On the basis of absorption, we have seen that there are certain spectroscopies which works on the basis of absorption spectroscopy. Those are like UV visible spectroscopy, the UV visible spectroscopy, then ESR, electron spin resonance, right? Infrared radiation, infrared spectroscopy, and then NMR, nuclear magnetic resonance. On the basis of emission spectroscopy, we have seen about the fluorescence spectroscopy. And in case of scattering, we have seen infrared and X-rays. And in the case of ionization, we have seen that mass spectroscopy works on the principle of ionization, right? So today, and also we have seen about the Beer-Lambert's law. So I'll be discussing Beer-Lambert's law a little bit so that it becomes clear to you all. So in Beer-Lambert's law, definition you will get everywhere, so I'll not go to the definition. Simply I'll make you understand the concept, right? What is Beer-Lambert's law? Now if we see, suppose a sample is there, right? Suppose this is a sample, fine. Now this sample is having a concentration C and path length of the sample is, say for example, L, right? Excuse me. Then whenever a light is incident on this sample, what exactly happen is like this sample will absorb certain amount of light which is incident on it, right? So the amount of light it absorbs depends on the concentration C and L, that is path length of the sample, right? That means if concentration is more, absorbance will also increase, right? So we can say that absorbance is directly proportional to concentration and path length, right? So now A is directly proportional to concentration, A is directly proportional to length. So to remove the proportionality, there is a constant which we call extinction coefficient, which is this one, E, right? You can also write absorbance as log I naught by I. Now what is I naught? I naught stands for the incident radiation, this particular source, right? This is called incident radiation, and I stands for your light transmitted, amount of light transmitted after interacting with the sample. Fine. So this is how the absorbance is calculated. Clear? I hope it is clear. If you have any doubt in Beer-Lambert's law, you can drop a mail to my email ID. Almost after last video also I got 2-3 mails. So if you have any queries, you can drop a mail. I will be replying to your mail, right? And one more thing I would like to clear here, Beer and Lamberts, they are two different scientists. According to Beer, he told that absorption is directly proportional to concentration of the sample. If concentration is high, then absorbance will be high, right? And this Lambert told that absorbance is directly proportional to the path length, this L, of the sample. So now when they combined both, when both the laws were combined, then it came out as Beer-Lambert's law, which is directly proportional to the concentration of the sample and the path length of the sample. Clear? And one more thing, L is generally not given. If the L is not given in the question, you have to take it 1 centimeter, right? 1 centimeter. Fine? Okay. So let's move to the next. Okay, let's move to the principle of UV visible spectroscopy. UV visible spectroscopy works on the principle of transition, right? So I think you all know about transition. So let me explain you in very detail. So suppose this is a sample here, right? And this sample I have exposed it with some incident radiation. Now this sample will be made of either carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, right? Now when say for example carbon is forming a single bond with hydrogen, when a single bond is formed, then we call that particular bond as sigma bond, right? Now say for example, now consider that carbon is forming a double bond with hydrogen. If it is forming double bond with hydrogen, then we call one bond as sigma and another bond we call it as pi, right? Now what exactly happening in UV visible spectroscopy? To make you understand, I will draw a chart here, right? Hope you will understand here everything. Just a minute, let me draw this. This is sigma, pi non-bonding, pi anti-bonding, and this is sigma anti-bonding. So what are these structures? I am writing here. See, this is sigma, this is pi, this is non-bonding, this is pi anti-bonding, and this is sigma anti-bonding, right? This is sigma anti-bonding. Clear? Now what exactly happening is, like, say for example, I told you, right? If it is single bond, it shows sigma. If it is double bond, it shows sigma and pi. Now just be attentive. Look at this diagram. Say a electron is jumping from sigma to sigma star. It needs to cover this much distance. Yes. Now say a pi electron is moving. For pi I am changing the color. Say I am taking red. For pi it is taking, see, from pi it is moving to pi anti-bonding. It needs only this much energy, right? Now if you see, the sigma anti-bonding needs more energy compared to pi anti-bonding. Yes, sigma anti-bonding needs more energy compared to pi anti-bonding. And if you see this s or a non-bonding orbital, non-bonding to pi anti-bonding is this much, and non-bonding to sigma anti-bonding is this much. Out of all this, sigma anti-bonding is taking a very huge amount of energy, right? So they do not show normally transition. In case of pi electrons, what exactly is happening is pi needs less energy compared to sigma. So whenever a compound is having double bond, what it do? The pi electron jumps from its orbital to higher orbital because it needs less energy compared to your sigma, right? So it will jump easily from its pi, it will jump easily from its orbital to higher orbital. But on the other hand, sigma needs very high energy, right? So it needs, so it will not jump easily. So this transition is mostly shown by the pi electrons. That means the transition is shown by those compounds which are either forming double bond, or you can say which have got your pi electrons. Say for example aromatic ring. Aromatic ring, if you see, they are having a double bond. Double bond means one is sigma, one is pi, right? So this pi electron will show transition and sigma will not show transition. Similarly for other compounds, say for example any double bonded compound, they will also show the transition. Now important thing you need to know is, here one compound is present which we call chromophore. Chromo means color forming compound, right? So when they show transition, a color is reflected, which we call chromophore. Chromophore compound is responsible for reflecting different color. right? So this is basically the UV visible spectroscopy principle, right? So if what is UV visible spectroscopy, what does the principle says about the UV visible spectroscopy? See here, spectroscopy is the measurement and interpretation of electromagnetic radiation, right, absorbed or emitted when the molecules or atoms or ions of the sample moves from one energy state to another energy state. So when they jumps from, it is basically the interpretation of electromagnetic radiation absorbed or emitted when the molecules jump from its ground state to the upper energy level, right? And mostly these are shown by pi electrons because they need very less amount of energy. Clear? Okay, so let's move to its working, how it works. Now, as light is absorbed by matter, this results in an increase in the energy content of the atoms or molecules, right? Means whenever a light is absorbed by a sample, right, the electrons of the sample becomes excited. Yes, because energy is being transferred to the sample. Now they becomes excited and they jump to higher energy state. Now when UV radiations are absorbed, this results in the excitation of electron from the ground state onwards to a higher energy state, resulting in transition from one molecular orbital to other due to absorption of electromagnetic radiation. Now I told you, the see here, this is very important. Which one? This one. Molecule containing pi electron or non-bonding electrons can absorb energy in the form of UV light to excite those electrons to higher anti-bonding molecular orbitals. And if you describe, if in exam the question comes according to, if in exam if question is asked like according to energy, arrange the orbitals in decreasing order, right? That means what? Sigma star is having highest energy, then non-bonding to sigma anti-bonding, then pi anti-bonding, and then non-bonding to pi anti-bonding, right? So this is what is very important in this UV visible spectroscopy. The energy of sigma anti-bonding is very high compared to your pi antibonding, right? So pi antibonding is responsible for showing transition from one orbital to another. Clear? मैं थोड़ा सा हिंदी में भी बोल देती हूँ ताकि समझ में आए सबको. अगर ये सैंपल है, मान लो ये सैंपल में क्या होगा कि जैसे ही ये लाइट पड़ेगा सैंपल में, तो क्या होगा, सैंपल में कोई भी एटम्स होता है, कार्बन होता है, हाइड्रोजन होता है, नाइट्रोजन होता है, बहुत सारे एटम्स होते हैं, राइट? और वो सिंगल बोन में भी हो सकता है, डबल बोन में भी हो सकता है, राइट? अगर वो सिंगल बोन में होते हैं तब हम उसको बोलते हैं क्या? सिग्मा. और अगर वो डबल बोन में होते हैं तब हम उसको बोलते हैं एक सिग्मा एक पाई, राइट? अब हमने देखा, जो मैंने चार्ट बनाया था, मैंने ये दिखाया कि आपको सिग्मा से मूव करना इलेक्ट्रॉन्स को टू सिग्मा एंटी बॉन्डिंग बहुत ज्यादा एनर्जी चाहिए होता है कंपेयर टू पाई एंटी बॉन्डिंग, राइट? अब जिस चीज में एनर्जी ज्यादा होगा, वो ज्यादा एनर्जी चाहिएगा, वो जल्दी एक्साइट नहीं होगा कि उसको, क्योंकि उसको डिजायर्ड अमाउंट ऑफ एनर्जी मिलने से ही वो एक्साइट होगा. बट पाई इलेक्ट्रॉन्स पाई एंटी बॉन्डिंग में बहुत कम एनर्जी की जरूरत है. तो जैसे ही आप किसी सैंपल जिसमें डबल बॉन्ड है उसको आप एक्साइट करोगे, तो वो क्या करेगा, जैसे ही वो रेडिएशंस को एब्जॉर्ब करेंगे, उसका पाई इलेक्ट्रॉन्स एक्साइट हो जाएंगे और वो लोअर एनर्जी से हायर एनर्जी ऑर्बिटल पे मूव करेंगे, राइट? और उसी को हम बोलते हैं ट्रांजिशन. एंड दिस इज द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ यूवी विजिबल स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी. क्लियर? और जब इंपॉर्टेंट बात ये है कि जब ये एब्जॉर्प्शन करते हैं, द एब्जॉर्प्शन ऑफ यूवी लाइट बाय केमिकल कंपाउंड विल प्रोड्यूस अ डिस्टिंक्ट स्पेक्ट्रम which helps in the identification of the compound. जैसे ही ये अल्ट्रावायलेट लाइट को एब्जॉर्ब करेंगे, तो ये मैंने बोला था क्रोमोफोर होते हैं, राइट? कलर प्रोड्यूसिंग सब्सटेंस. वो क्या करेंगे, डिस्टिंक्ट स्पेक्ट्रम प्रोड्यूस करेंगे जिसके थ्रू हम एक कंपाउंड को आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हैं, राइट? और मैं अगर उसकी इंस्ट्रूमेंटेशन की बात करती हूँ, तो इंस्ट्रूमेंटेशन में क्या होता है, जैसे मान लो हमने कोई भी लाइट दिया, राइट? ये लाइट हो गया, यहाँ पे पहले थोड़ा सा स्लिट रहता है, एक छोटा छोटा ऐसा एक इंस्ट्रूमेंट होता है, उसको हम बोलते हैं स्लिट। स्लिट से लाइट पास होगा। स्लिट का फंक्शन क्या है, वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ मोनोक्रोमेटिक रेडिएशंस को अलाउ करते हैं, राइट। तो स्लिट से लाइट जब पास होगा तो वो प्रिज्म को हीट करेंगे, राइट। प्रिज्म एक होता है, प्रिज्म क्या करेंगे, लाइट को हाफ मिरर में फोकस करवाते हैं। हाफ मिरर होता है एक, ऐसे ऐसे हाफ मिरर ऐसे होता है, 3 हाफ मिरर होते हैं, राइट। और ये हाफ मिरर क्या करते हैं आपका, ये देखिए हाफ मिरर ऐसे होता है। और यहाँ पे हम क्या करते हैं, एक में हम अपना 2 क्यूवेट होते हैं, एक में हम ब्लैंक रखते हैं और एक में हम सैंपल रखते हैं, और ये कनेक्ट होता है आपका डिटेक्टर से, ठीक है। तो इसमें क्या होता है, बेसिकली जब ये यूवी विजिबल लाइट स्लिट के थ्रू पास होता है, स्लिट वेवलेंथ को चेक करता है और ये प्रिज्म से टकरा के फिर वो हाफ मिरर के पास जाता है। हाफ मिरर क्या करते हैं, आपके आधा लाइट को रिफ्लेक्ट करते हैं, और ये आपका एक में सैंपल रहेगा क्यूबिट में, एक में आपका स्टैंडर्ड रहेगा। डिटेक्टर क्या करेंगे, दोनों के डिफरेंस को मेजर करके वो डिफ्लेक्ट कर देते हैं। बस यही है इंस्ट्रूमेंटेशन। होप इट्स इजी फॉर यू। अब नेक्स्ट एप्लीकेशन पार्ट, और मैंने यहाँ पे एक और ग्राफ रखा है टू मेक यू अंडरस्टैंड कि एब्जॉर्प्शन स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी का ग्राफ हम कैसे देखते हैं। ये मैंने अमाइनो एसिड्स के लिए रखा है, ट्रिप्टोफैन, टायरोसिन और फिनाइलएलेनिन का। एब्जॉर्प्शन ट्रिप्टोफैन का ज्यादा होता है, फिर टायरोसिन का, फिर फिनाइलएलेनिन का। आप खुद ग्राफ देख लो, देखिए ग्राफ ट्रिप्टोफैन का ज्यादा है, राइट। तो ट्रिप्टोफैन क्या है, ट्रिप्टोफैन का ज्यादा है कंपेयर टू टायरोसिन, कंपेयर टू क्या, फिनाइल एलेनिन। ये क्या है, WYF, ये क्या है, सिंगल कोड है जिससे आप अमाइनो एसिड्स को रिप्रेजेंट करते हो, राइट। यहाँ पे मैंने वर्ड में दिया है, यहाँ पे मैंने शॉर्टकट में उनका सिंगल कोड यूज किया है। ट्रिप्टोफैन को हम W से डिनोट करते हैं, टायरोसिन को हम Y से करते हैं, फिनाइल एलेनिन को हम F से करते हैं। ये हो गया आपका एब्जॉर्प्शन, राइट। So let's check its application. It is used for quantitative analysis of antibiotics, very important. It is used for quantitative analysis of hormones. It is used for quantitative analysis of vitamins, analgesic, phenyl chloride and water. It is also used for detection of impurities in organic molecule. Additional peaks can be observed due to impurities in the sample, and it can be compared with that of standard raw material. It is also useful in structural elucidation of organic compound, right? It is useful in the structural elucidation of organic molecules, such as detecting the presence or absence of unsaturations, presence of heteroatoms. So basically it is used for, you can say, quantitative analysis. It is used to characterize different types of compounds, used in qualitative determination, right? So that's all about UV visible spectroscopy. Hope you understand it. And if you understand, please hit the like button, and if you have any queries, you can please drop a mail in my mail ID given in the description box, and you can also share these videos with your friend. After all, sharing is caring, right? Thank you so much for watching this. Hope you like it. Thank you so much.